Namaskar. Myo now to Shayan Pandit. Hello, my name is Shayan Pandit. I am 13 years old. I am a student at the Waterford School in Utah. This is Abhinavagupta. He was born around 950 CE in Kashmir. However, Abhinavagupta was not his actual name, but rather a title he earned. He was born as Shankar. He made significant contributions to Kashmiri Shaivism and in the philosophy of aesthetics. A true polymath, he was also a musician, poet, and logician. From the beginning, Abhinav Gupta was special. He was said to have been born through a Kala ritual, which made him a Yogini Bhu, which gave him a special capacity for spirituality. His family's earliest known ancestor, Atri Gupta, was from the Madhya Desh region of India, now Kannauj, and traveled to Kashmir for King Lalitaditya. Abhinav Gupta's family was very religious and spiritual, which influenced him and led him to his path. Sadly, when Abhinav Gupta was very young, his mother, Vimala, died. This event impacted him in a big way and led to him leaving normal life behind and focusing more on spirituality instead. As he grew up, his first guru was his father, Narasimha Gupta, who taught him grammar, logic, and literature. As he grew older, his thirst for knowledge grew, and he studied from many gurus. Four of those gurus were very prominent. Lakshman Gupta taught him three of the four schools of monastic thought: KRAMA, or sequence, Trika, or triad, and Pratyabhijna, or recognition. Sambhunatha, who Abhinav Gupta admired the most, taught him the fourth school, Kola, or embodied. It was to him Abhinav Gupta attributes his self realization. Vamanatha instructed him in dualist Shaivism, and Bhutiraja instructed him in non dualistic Shaivism. However, that was not all. He was so hungry for knowledge that he wanted to learn everything. He studied from Buddhist, Jain, Vaishnava, and Siddhanta Shaivis, and traveled around Kashmir to learn from the best that he could. He was said to have studied from at least 15 gurus, and to this day we are not sure exactly how many. He finished his studies around the age of 30 to 35 and thereafter lived in his ashram. He never married, but rather lived with his family and disciples. His time was spent teaching and writing works. He was as great a student as a teacher. His students recognized that and honored him. They thought that he was an incarnation of Shiva, and he was respected and revered. Students flocked to him. After many years of writing and teaching, his time came. He died around 1016 CE in Mangam, Kashmir. However, there is a legend that he took over 1,000 disciples to the Bhairava cave near the city of Srinagar and translated into the spiritual world as they chanted one of his hymns, Bhairava Stava. Abhinav Gupta wrote 44 works throughout his lifetime, but many have been lost to time. He started his first work in his early 20s. It was a hymn to the goddesses of KRAMA. However, his greatest religious work was Tantraloka, or To Throw Light on Tantra, which is a synthesis of the Trika non dualist system of Shaivism. Abhinav Gupta studied many schools of thought, but he favored Trika, in part due to his guru Sambhunatha. who also encouraged him to write Tantraloka. It was a work of huge depth and had the goal of joining all of the schools into Trika Shaivism. This was part of his philosophy and worship of triads such as past, present, and future, mild, medium, and intense, God, goddess, and man, will, knowledge, and activity, and dual, dual come non-dual, and non-dual. He also made a condensed version of Tantraloka called Tantrasara, or Essence of Tantra. These tantric works were the first major and mature works that he completed. He also wrote many devotional hymns such as Bhairavastava and KRAMA. Another topic he wrote about was philosophy. His most important work in that field was Ishwara Pratyabhijna Vimarsani, or Commentary to the Verses on the Recognition of the Lord. This work is now used as a fundamental part of the Pratyabhijna school. Interestingly, it was also influenced by Buddhist logic. He also made significant works about the philosophy of art, like Abhinavagupta, a commentary on Natya Shastra by Bharata Muni. This is his most famous work and has kept his name alive to this day. He also contributed to the theory of rasa, or aesthetic flavor. These are most of his important works. Abhinavagupta was similar to Renaissance scholars in that he dabbled in many different topics, such as music, art, drama, and philosophy. His overarching belief was that you could obtain spirituality and realize God through many methods. Instead of having to be a monk, you could do it through music, dance, or literature. This ties in with the belief of non dualism, or the idea that the world we live in and God are not separate but one and the same. His dream and goal was to create one overarching system that could adapt and integrate any scripture. Now, let's take a step back and take a look at some things from a more modern perspective. Mine. As I just mentioned, Abhinavagupta made many important works and contributions. However, he is not very well recognized throughout India. I think that is because he was making these contributions to Kashmiri Shaivism, which compared to all of India is a small sect. He also did not leave Kashmir, and thus did not leave much of a mark on other areas, even though people came to Kashmir for him. This meant that there was only a limited amount of recognition that he could have. Even with those limitations, he gained recognition and impacted Indian culture. He has even impacted me. My great grandfather has written books on Kashmiri Shaivism and has even written one on his guru's guru, Utpal Deva. I'm sure his books wouldn't be the same without the contributions of Abhinav Gupta. I believe that during Abhinav Gupta's time, Kashmiri Hindu culture was widespread and powerful. Instead of clashing with other practices, they coexisted in peace and harmony at that time, making Kashmir the perfect place for Abhinav Gupta, who himself learned and studied from all sorts of different ideas and practices. In conclusion, Abhinav Gupta was one of the most important writers and philosophers in both India and Kashmir. His legacy and his works have been passed down through the generations of Shaivites. Although he may not get the recognition that he deserves, he still was a great man.